Do you feel the vibe? We are going to talk about vibe coding today in the AWS Developers Podcast. Welcome in this new episode of the AWS Developer Podcast. We are recording live from the AWS Summit in India, in Bangalore. You might hear a bit of background noise behind us. Most of it will be removed, hopefully, so that you can listen in good condition. The vibe is what we are going to talk about today. We feel the vibe. Tiffany, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And to talk about vibe, but a very specific types of vibe, we have one guest, Amshri. Thank you for being here, Amshri. You're AWS community builder, you're cloud engineers. You're also a speaker at the summit here in India. And you had a talk about vibe coding with Amazon Q developers. So maybe a very generic question to start from. How would you define vibe coding?
So first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast, Sam. And about vibe coding, I'm vibing on it, to be honest. Earlier, I used to feel a bit lazy on coding, debugging especially. Scaffolding and debugging and, reviewing your codes and everything. That was very, very, very active, boring. Of course, yeah, I just want to use that word, that's why. But it's really boring. And I observed that 70% of my time went into debugging and went into scaffolding and, doing all those kind of things, iterative code and all those things. But now, when I think that I have something where I can just give a prompt in my natural language, English, and now it's suppose Gujarati, Hindi, Spanish, Italian, all multinational languages have been supported by so many tools and QCLI as well. So now I feel that I just have to tell them what I want to do and it will do everything for me. So I don't have to sit and write the reusable codes and review it and debug it. Instead, I just have to tell them that, hey, this is the exact thing that I want and can you please create it for me? Can you please write the code? It's like, having an intern with you where you can give instructions, where you can, give them tasks to perform and they will first of all, review it, try to debug it on their own, and then they'll come back to us and we have to again review it if it is right or not. And that's how the vibe coding is working for me. I'm enjoying. I'm building so many apps that might not be so much useful, but I wanted to build it from really long time. I just didn't want to code it out. So right now, yeah.
Vibe coding in one phrase, it's like having a general assistant to write codes for me. So I ask the assistant to write the code, but it's not one function. It's a whole application.
Yes, whole application. You can deploy it as well. You can troubleshoot it. You can generate, troubleshoot, deploy, do everything with just one tool. And that's vibe coding. You don't have to have context switching things or like that. So,
and I fully agree with you. It's so fun that I'm exactly like you. I'm writing a lot of applications since the last 2 months. Sometimes small scripts that I had in my mind, I never took the time to write them, and now I can just ask someone to do it for me. But is there an interest for enterprise?
To be honest, right now, if you ask me, I'll say no. It might not be production ready. You have to go through lots of reviews, whatever AI has generated for you. You have to have some unit test in place, testing it on your own.
They can generate that too.
You have to ask them. If you give a vague prompt, you will always get a vague response, right? So if you are not specific that create a unit test for me, then it will not generate it. So you can ask them and then of course it will do it, but we have to go through that testing phase as well. We cannot skip it and we cannot directly, have it in production. For fun, for non-techies, for beginners, for someone who is just exploring, it's okay to just, press the T, the trusted one in QCLI and deploy everything. But for enterprise, for production-ready applications, you have to take some precautions earlier. You have to be very specific with your prompt. You have to do testing and reviewers and so many things. And yet I feel that human intervention is needed for production-ready applications. It's not just, the code that is generated by AI, you can deploy it in production. So that's what I feel as of now. But it's still evolving, right? Who knows, after 6 months, there are some more functionalities and models are more interactive and more good. So they might give us better results.
I agree. But I think specifically for the small tasks and individually, like this can already help even in big companies. But as you said, like the thing is, it's really good for prototyping and launching quickly something.
Yes.
If you're testing out stuff, for a big company that has huge processes, I think you can still build quickly some stuff while still respecting the process of the company. Like while still doing unit tests, while still checking for security. But I think that this is already helping like developers inside of the companies being more productive. At least this is my enthusiastic point of view.
It's really fast, and that's where productivity comes in, right? So earlier I have read some Gartner reports which says that MVP takes at least 4 to 6 months for a startup to get a prototype or something like that. 4 to 6 months, it's really, huge amount of days and hours. So if you get something in 1 day, or if you spin up something in 1 hour, any prototype, then it's really fun, it's really productive.
Yes.
So then you can enhance it further. Then you can, add your features and functionalities and your thinking on it.
Yes.
But for prototyping, it's really helpful. It's really good.
Actually, yes, for prototyping, for prototyping in companies, this makes you save a lot of time. I think we've discussed this with builders like the other day.
Yeah, exactly. 2 days ago, we were talking about that with a DSA manager for India that says we can help enterprise going to 6 months to 2 weeks or 2 days even. Give me a project that you have in your backlog that you never realized because lack of budget priority. That would take like 4 to 6 months, and we do it in a couple of days. That's amazing. What's an example, something that you built recently that really surprised you by the capabilities of the tool to generate code?
So first thing is a game. I was never a game developer because it's so much. I mean, you have to use so many functions, Python functions and Pygames and so many things, right? For developing a game. And I was never that kind of person to sit and use all the libraries and debug it and troubleshoot it, because in game you have so many features that you just want to implement. Recently, I developed a Python-based game, and that too, I also pegged it into APK to deploy it into Android. And it was awesome. There is one of my favorite game, retro game, which is very much popular in India back in our childhood days. And I was really, really excited to create it because I used to play it like 2 or 3 hours a day when I was a child. And I built like exact replica of it. And it was really cool. I really liked it. And using all the Python libraries and APK functions and all not. So it is really good. It has used some functions that I even don't know. So I went back and I asked QCLI that, hey, what have you done in this code? And it has given me exact output that this is for this functionality, because sometimes I don't know some things, right? So I need to ask him. So that feature is really good. You can ask, what have you code over here? Explain me, give me a README file. So that was really good. I documented everything. I have to keep it, what AI has done, how AI has done, what functions it has used. So game development is one thing. And another thing is I am a cloud FinOps engineer, okay? So I wanted to integrate Kudos dashboard. It is in AWS only. So what I have to do, I wanted to build Kudos dashboard as well as my own, some features that I want to implement it, enhance it, to get customized recommendations for AWS services, how to optimize AWS services, especially when it is using an architecture, right? So MCP servers, if you have heard of it, we have so many MCP servers now. So I have used 2 architecture diagram and cost analyses and AWS documentation.
So these are servers from AWS. They are available open source on GitHub.
Yes, on GitHub it is available. Those are AWS MCP servers. You have 8 or 9 servers right now. I have used 3 servers in QCLI, which are diagram, AWS architecture diagram, AWS cost analysis, and AWS documentation. Because documentation have all the strategies and everything, but you don't have time to go through tons of pages of documentation, right? And now whenever I put an architecture diagram, or whenever I tell them, hey, how can I optimize RDS tables, or how can I optimize my Lambda functions, or what to do, give me some FinOps best practices for transcribe service. Because in transcribe, the cost optimization is really tricky. For every region, you have different kind of pricing and how to, combine everything in one region and what to do exactly. So by using these MCP servers, I've created a tool using Kudos dashboard already, which is existing, and my inputs that I wanted to do. And I'm getting amazing results. Like, it was too cool because earlier I had to go for documentations, then I have to figure it out how I can do, and then I have to recommend it to the customers. Now in 5 minutes, I get answer whatever I want.
Yeah, I think this is amazing for this particular use case, which is learning. If before you didn't have the time to learn something new, then you probably would not. Like you just abandon the idea of like doing a game or trying something new because it would take too much time, and you would like specialize yourself in like a small specialty or expert domain of expertise. Now with vibe coding and all of those tools, I feel like you can at least try to start new things that would take too much time before because the learning curve was too steep and too discouraging.
I know, Tiffany, you're the host on this show, not the guest, but what is the coolest things you developed in vibe coding?
The coolest thing I developed with vibe coding, I think, is the project that I'm working right now at the moment is the AI game master assistant for Dungeon Dragon.
It's funny because you mentioned Omtree, you mentioned a game, and my funniest thing is a game as well. I wrote a Swift UI for iOS, a Pac-Man original AT version of Pac-Man in 1 hour. So it's funny that we'd all started with games.
You want to start with something fun, with something that you can play with and test after. Like I think the game is probably the nicest entry point for this.
What is a good prompt? You said if you don't ask precise instruction, you will not get precise code. So precise instruction is a good prompt. So based on your experience so far, what one of your prompts look like?
So earlier, I'll tell you all after and before kind of prompt. Okay, before I used to give write me a Lambda function, and now it will write any Lambda function. I have not specified. So I got really vague answer of some example code of Lambda function. Then I gave the prompt, write me a Lambda function which integrates with S3 bucket, which triggers with a function, and you got error handling in CloudWatch. So that whatever error logs are there, I will get it from CloudWatch and CloudTrail, right? So this was my exact prompt, and it built it like accordingly, really good function. Yeah, but first time was really bad. First time was just write a Lambda function, and I mean it was the vaguest function I could have get every.
I haven't tried that, but I can suspect the result is not really good.
Now it's good, but still I'm also learning to be a good prompt engineer, and I feel that everyone, be it in AI or not, you should be a good prompt engineer, because nowadays what's happening is AI knows the answer, but you have to give a proper question, or you have to ask a proper question. You have to be specific into it, right? So that's on prompt. Like I used to give really good prompt, and still what I feel is sometimes I don't give good prompt, but I give one line. Okay, this is what I have written. Now you ask me questions which you feel that you don't have proper information, and I will give you the response. So even if I have missed something to write it in prompt, suppose there is one architecture diagram, create S3 bucket with Lambda functions and DynamoDB and 2 or 3 other services. And if I have missed some point, you ask me the question, I'll give you that answer. So that's the trick that I have developed recently, that I will write that if I have missed some point, please ask me the relevant questions regarding this situation, and then I provide the answer, and it will take all the context, and then it will give me a really good result of it. So I think that might help people to go ahead with prompt engineering.
So be precise. That's your advice. Very precise. I also include the programming language, because by default, when you say write a Lambda function that does that and that, what language it used by default?
You have Python or JSON. So these are my 2 go-to language, because I know that language properly. So what I feel is I have to review it, right? So that's where I always make sure that the language I know, that's why I ask him to create in that, so I can review it, so I can test it. Vibe coding is there, but that doesn't mean you don't have to learn coding. So that's a little advice to people. For non-techies and people who are learning or exploring, that's fine. But still, you have to be good at coding. It's just that you don't have to do it. You have to review it. You have to keep an eye on it, right? On AI generated.
Yeah, you are the expert, and you are reviewing the code generated by the assistant, and you tell it, yeah, this is correct or this is not correct. Please change that or change that.
Yes.
Do you feel like that within the team, vibe coding can enable other people that are not developers at first to at least explore new features, new functionalities?
Yeah, I mean, non-developers, techie, who are people not from tech background, or PMs or salesperson even, or HR person who want to automate their tasks, right? I mean, for them, it's really helpful. They can explore. I would also say social media influencers, because what I have used is I always used to put my morning coffee picture on my Instagram with a small quotation. So what I have built is every day I can't have some idea to put a good quotation, good, positive affirmations. I created a tool that on based of my mood, whatever, what kind of keyword I give you, you generated a code for me, and that should be new for every day. And that, I mean, it's really simple. I just take answer from it and I just put it. So I think for people other than developers, it's really good, even for SMB or, entrepreneurs, be it in fabric industry or makeup industry or any other industries, right? Entrepreneurs can also use this. If they don't have budgets to go on with it, they can use it for prototyping. They just have to give a natural language prompt. Once they have all the idea, and then they can go to a technical person and take it forward. But for all the non-takers, it's really good learning curve, plus exploring things, plus they will get a little bit idea of how it's working, right? So they are not going into something blindfolded. They know that this is what it will look like, and this is what I want, this is what I vision for. Because earlier the agile loop will go on and on and on, right? Now they have some idea, and then they reach to developers and people like that to enhance it or to modify it. So I think it's good for non-learners as well. And for PMs, sales, HR, it is really good.
But then there is an elephant in the room. Is it going to replace developers? We don't need developers in the future. We have AI agents that will write code for us.
No. I mean, some of the tasks which are very basic, I mean, writing a simple HTML file or writing a simple, style.css file, something like that, is completely, taken the role of AI. AI is generating it, everything. But still, you need someone to review it, to test it, right? So it will not take your work. But what I feel is the people who are using AI will definitely take your work. So suppose you are not learning AI, but someone who is learning and who is using AI, they will get the job instead of you, because now they have an extra hand to support them, to enhance them, to increase the productivity, right? To help them create faster. And it's all about agility in today's world. That's what I feel.
Yeah, it's a bit like in the past, the ones that want to continue to code everything in assembly language, we are not going to hire them. We are going to use someone using a higher level language and an IDE in modern tools.
Yes.
And AI agents are modern tools for coding in 2025. But you would encourage your kids to learn coding?
Sure. I mean, I have a niece who is 10 years old, and I'm just letting her use my QCLI laptop. And I was like, just prompt and just try to experiment. Whatever creativity you have, just try to do it. So, I mean, I will definitely ask my kids, even my friends who are not learning AI and who are not into all this kind of things, I would suggest to do it. I mean, it is always good to have knowledge, to know how to use tools and how to, get yourself advanced in this AI world. It's really important to be on top of everything. So, yeah, it will not take your job 100%, but I feel that 30% of mundane task is definitely replaced by AI. Still, AI have a lot of things where it can enhance itself, where it can evolve itself. So that's where human and AI engineers are, needed for doing all those things. So I feel, it will not take your job, but if you don't learn it, then it will definitely
take your job.
Yeah.
Someone from my family had a good analogy saying this is tools and you're able to create a Pac-Man game or a Dungeon and Dragon game because you know how to code. If you give the same tool to someone that doesn't know how to code, yes, they can probably do simple things, but not more complicated things like that. And the analogy was a chef. You can see a chef on a cooking show on TV that will use that specific oven or that specific tool. And if you use the same oven or the same tool at home, I cannot the same cake because I'm not a chef.
That's true.
And I really like this analogy.
Yeah, but then you told me this analogy the other day at dinner, and then I said, yes, but the quiche. Like the simple basic dish, everybody will be able to do it with like a few tools, and that's fine. Of course, that there is virtually an infinite number of small, projects that people could do at home that will make their life easier, or even at work, which will make your work easier. That doesn't mean that the developers, as you said, the job will disappear. It's just that developers will be needed for more complex applications, which would require security, which will require other things that are more, specialized. But for the other people that have, like their little projects, it's fine that they can do it now. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Let's go back to enterprise use case. And you told us that you don't think that in the current state of the art, we can develop and deploy an entire business application using AI assistant alone. And we all agree with that. But as Stephanie mentioned, it's totally reasonable for some portion of the code, that specific function, that specific algorithm, the unit test. But what are the risks for enterprise to deploy code generated by AI agents?
First and foremost is security that I feel. I mean, we have seen so many things that are happening because of security reasons. Like there are so many risks. The last one I remember that was huge outbreak was CrowdStrike and something like that. Something went wrong, right? So I feel that security is first reason for enterprises to not completely rely on AI. Again, with better prompts, with better, human interventions, you can have a production-ready environments and a production-ready codes and workloads and everything. Another thing I feel is you have to make sure that the code is scalable and everything. I mean, these things matters for enterprise level, security, operational efficiency, scalability. So for that, I feel that some things are yet not there. So whenever I try to give some prompts, right, it will give me a good result. But I still feel that if I have given more good prompts, or maybe I will take that code and I will write something what I feel like to put it for other functions, security functions or performance functions, it would be much more better. So that's what I feel, that still human intervention is needed over there. And especially in security part, I mean, I cannot blindly trust an AI generated code or something to deploy in my production environment. Yeah, I can't. I have trust issues in that. So maybe in next few years, maybe when I'm much more comfortable and confident with AI, I can trust it, and it will evolve a lot in next year. I mean, the way models will improve, the way integration will improve, it will evolve a lot, right? So yeah, I'm hoping that at one day I don't have to think a lot about taking all the measures in mind before deploying it in production environment. I'll just press yes, just deploy Y, enter Y.
And the maintainability aspect as well. If you don't understand the code that is generated, how are you going to maintain that for the next 5 or 10 years?
Exactly. And it's not just me who is doing the production code, right? I have a team of people. So if I understand the code, what if my team doesn't understand it? So right now, you don't have that mechanism in GenAI to store everything in a proper way for reusability. So what happened back then, we have generated something and one of my teammates have to take it forward, right? So he doesn't understand what code has written or what kind of files are there and something like that. So you have to make sure that you are maintaining it really nice. The documentations are on top of everything. The architecture diagrams, mermaid diagrams, flowcharts and everything is there, right? So it will not do it automatically. Again, you have to give prompts. Earlier, we were not able to create architecture diagram using QCLI, but now we can. After 1 week, I mean, the feature is there still 1 week, 10 days. If we provide this day.
I saw the news this morning that there is an MCP server able to generate architecture diagram.
So now we do have, but back then we didn't have it, right? So maybe next years there are so many other things that it will automate. GenAI will automate, it will integrate with so many other things and it will enhance everything. But right now, these are the factors, like maintainability is one factor, security is one factor, even performance. So unit testing and everything is required, load testing is required. It has created something which is good for, maybe 100,000 users. What about million or billion users? I mean, we have to make sure of that as well, right, in a production-ready environment. So there are few things that I don't trust completely on GenAI generated codes, and that's where I feel that you have to be more, conscious about it. You have to take conscious decisions before going it into production. So that's the thing right now.
So we talk about vibe coding in general. We didn't talk about the specific tools that you are using. You mentioned it a couple of times. You are using Amazon Q Developer CLI. So it's a CLI version. It's an acquisition that we made a few years ago. And at the beginning, it was just command line completion on steroid, but really on steroid. I think it was called Fig. And recently we had that agentic coding capability, and I'm totally surprised with that tool. So that's the tool you use?
Yeah. So earlier I used to use Copilot and, Claude and everything. But they were generating code, they were doing everything. But if I want to deploy it in AWS, I have to go through GitHub and, so many things. It was not automating the deployment for me. When QCLI came, I don't have to use a single GitHub commands or single PowerShell script on AWS console. It just do it. The integration over there is really good. So that's where I switched from all these tools who used to generate codes to something that also deploy it for me in AWS environment. So I am a huge user of AWS, and my day-to-day life comes and runs around AWS. So that's where QDeveloper CLI is really useful. So if I'm working in CLI, I don't have to manually context switch between console or PowerShell script or, IDE, where we have our ISE, CFT and Terraform templates and everything in place. So I don't have to do that. I just have to open my CLI window and I have to code and maintain everything over there. So that's really helpful for me. Context switching was not my thing. So this is really good. So yeah, and that's where QCLI is.
And it comes with a couple of tools, so it can search for your files on your file system,
Yes.
grep to find relevant portion of your code. It knows about GitHub. It can issue your Git command
Yes.
for you.
We had integration with GitHub before some days, and it's really cool. So yeah.
I'm always surprised by the structure of the code. It creates file, not only one. So I'm talking about my Pacman application. It creates a model view controller with a very clean architecture of the code itself. I guess it's your experience.
Yes. It creates tons of files, whatever I needed. So I had a session where I show how to build a portfolio if you don't have one on S3, CloudFront, using all those things, right? So it created so many files: HTML, index.html, style.css, then a script.js file, then config file for CloudFront, all the things over there, and S3 bucket policies, and so many things. So it creates multiple amount of files. It also gives, it also stores in your, directory where you can open it in your IDE and everything to better visualize it if you need to do it. So yeah, that's really cool. I mean,
And if you have recurring prompts, like I want to use Angular framework version XYZ, you can put that in a file that is reused over and over again, so that you don't need to type everything all the time.
Have you tried it on a legacy project with a lot of code base already? Like, does it perform well?
not yet. That's my next step to do it, to use it on legacy. And, one use case that I'm recently working is to convert legacy, versions into newer, suppose .NET application. You're using version 5 or 6 and you want to convert it into recent or latest one, version 8. So it's really helpful. For updating drivers, I mean, that's the task that takes ample amount of my time earlier, because, going from the last version to the latest version and, checking and debugging and troubleshooting and then testing your application, whether it's working or not. So it was very, very hectic and really iterative process, I would say. But now, with the use of all these GenAI tools and Vibe coding and QDeveloper CLI, it's really a blessing to get everything done in an hour or 30 minutes or so. So yeah, these are the use cases I'm exploring right now. Earlier, it's just fun to know the tool, to know how it works and everything. But now I want to do on legacy applications as well. So yeah.
It's not only about code. Sometimes when I search which is the specific Git command line command to do that or that or that, I just open QCLI and ask QCLI. That's much faster than searching on Google or Stack Overflow as well. I'm sorry for them. But it brings the correct answer directly in my terminal. In the industry, we talk more and more about AI SDLC, AI-driven software development lifecycle. What's your view of the future of the AI SDLC?
So in SDLC, we have so many processes in place, right? You have to go through each and every process in a way to complete all your life cycles. A review would come, test would come, run, deploy, debug, build, everything will come, and it's an iterative process. Over here, I feel that in future we have some place where we can store everything in a maintainable way, where we have last history, latest version, and everything in place. What you have done before, what is recent, state management, such as we have in Terraform, right? So you can go back to the code that was previously done by GenAI if you don't feel that, okay, this code is not good, but I have done something else. Or maybe your teammate is working on the same code and something is messed up and you want to go back to your previous version or something like that. and maintaining all files and everything. I think all those integration would be there in future, where SDLC would play a really good role. Right now, agility, which is one of the main process of SDLC, to go from build, debug, build, test, run, and have a prototype in place. That is the best thing it is doing right now. That's what I feel, and in future we'll have a lot more things about it. So yeah.
Oh, how much more productive do you think you are? Yeah.
So it saves almost 65 to 70% of my time as compared to before, because
It's huge.
yeah, see, game development, I would have to sit for entire hour or entire day to do it, right? Like almost 8 hours or 9 hours, I'll have to sit. A, to learn. B, to implement. C, to debug and troubleshoot. And D, to finally run it and have some future enhancement, whatever I would prefer in that game. But now, it gives me files in, 4 or 5 minutes. It will create the file. So to get entire prototype of a game, it took me like 60, 70 minutes to complete the entire game with iterative process. I mean, I will give another prompt that enhance this feature and enhance that feature and everything, right? So I would say that it reduces like to 70 to 75%
Amazing.
of my time. Yeah, so cool. It's cool.
So you're a daily Q Developer CLI user. If someone from the service team is listening, what do you want us, AWS, to add to Q Developer CLI?
So I see most of the things are there. GitHub is in preview already. Multi-language support is already there. What I feel is maintainability a little bit more, because it will give me that, okay, these are the steps I have done. But I really look forward to have a good maintainability in place. In IDE, of course, I do have the integration with IDE, but in integration with CLI also, I'm looking forward to that. And also, I mean, right now it's taking a little bit more time to think. I mean, in morning I was preparing my demo and it was taking more time than usual to think. I don't know what happened. So maybe that the reduce of time would be more helpful for me. It will go from 70% to 80-90% productivity for me. So let's see if they're working on some models or something like that to accelerate it more. And I mean, that would be it. I don't have any complaints. I love the service team. They have done a really amazing job, because I love it. So yeah.
And you can test it for free. You don't need to have an AWS account. That's super important as well. You just need a Builder ID. You search on Google or anything, AWS Builder ID. You just need a valid email address, and then you can use Q Developer CLI for free. Of course, there is some quota, but they are quite high already. You can use them a lot without having an AWS account and without a credit card. So please go install Q Developer CLI and vibe code with us. Tell us what you're building with Q Developer. Share your experience on social networks, picture, video, or whatever. Thank you so much, Amshri, for sharing your knowledge, your passion, your enthusiasm about vibe coding and Q Developer CLI. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for having listened to this episode until the end. See you next week in all good podcast application for another episode. But now, go build with Q Developer CLI.